work. It could be relationships. It could be a social life. It could be even picking a dress or a cloth that you're going to put on for a meeting. There are very many issues which affect us as youths, and there are very many issues that tend to clobber our minds to have inner feelings that do not really have its root to what we want to be. Tonight we'll be discussing about depression amid its ladies, and on our panelist today we have Israel Okoth, who is a professional psychologist attached to Turning Point Counseling Center. We also have Ambassador of Peace Imani Chepchumba, a master's student undertaking international peace and conflict resolution. Also in my panelist today I have Salome Oriko, who is a content creator, and lastly Yvonne Alfreda, who is a professional musician. Don't forget to join into today's conversation on our social media platforms. On Facebook is The Identity, and on Instagram at The Identity 254. Thank you, and please tally with us through these discussions. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime that the word depression comes in, most people want to associate it to a foreign problem that came to Africa. Is that the case, Israel?
No, it's not. Depression is a human problem, and it's something that we go through from a younger age. It's only that the way by which we see it is different. From a child to a teenager to an adult to an old person. So it is something that is part of life that we need to know how to handle so that we don't reach there. And once we're there, to find a way to come out.
As I'm getting you clearly, is that it affects all generations.
It does.
And because this has been a conversation from a couple of months ago after something happened in our country, that is Kenya,
Yes.
of suicidal cases, and it became something that has been viral, that we need to talk about this. But has it been in existence like from way back in the days?
It has always been there. It is only that we call it different names relative to what you know. You can only call it what you know. But it's something that our forefathers had before the whites came, and something that will be there regardless of where the Android generation takes us to. But it's something that we will always have next to us. Yes.
Now, Imani, you are a master student undertaking international peace and conflict resolution. And I want to believe that in your career and also in your interaction, you've been able to meet people who have gone through this problem. How have you been able to interact with them, especially tackling it from your point of profession?
First, we need to understand that depression, nobody is immune to depression. Everybody gets through depression, whether you're old or young. Again, the only thing that matters is the degree of your depression, and it only comes down to how you're able to handle. Now, what happens in my field is that we've been able to tackle students from the tough regions in our country, those from Lamu, Turkana, and all those type of things, and they are depressed because of things that they cannot get, just like natural resources, getting education, getting food, getting just like the basic needs. For them it's been hard, but then you have to make them you have to provide for them first, so that they can be able to sit down and tell you their stories. This is what you're going through, how can you help? If there's help we can give them, if not, we try to educate them, encourage them to open up, but it first comes from you bringing the help to them, providing for them the basic needs, so that they're comfortable enough to open up and tell you these are issues. Amazing.
Let me come to you, Yvonne, and you know, our African parents had very many ways of dealing with this. You know, like in Africa, we wouldn't say that in 1900 to speak, I wasn't there though, that there was a counseling center, you know, and I want to believe that our parents had their way. I want to borrow from your career. Our parents have music that, you know, speaks to the soul, but can music also be used to propel these feelings?
The feelings of depression, it also depends on the type of music you listen to. There's some kinds of music that you listen to that actually trigger emotions and feelings of things that probably if you are not listening to that particular kind of music, you won't really react to it the way you did. And apart from that, the way you are saying our forefathers had ways of tackling the depression amongst people, you'd find aunties sitting down with their nieces and advising them on how to deal with things that came into their lives. For example, if they are going through a female problem, they would know how to deal with it because they were going through lessons, and also they used to have songs to teach them on how to be able to take care of such problems that they were going through.
Now, Sally, you're a content creator, and I would like us to, for the viewers watching, I would want us, this ideally is to talk about depression amidst ladies, and I've been honored to have you from different fields to be able to create the picture that is really out there. Sally, you're a content creator, and I mean, you see the world from a different perspective, and from where you sit, you can see the magnitude of depression. Is it a small thing that you can just, you know, sleep over it overnight and in the morning you're okay, or you just go grab some nice plate of chicken chips and whatever it is? Is it?
Not really. It's like my colleagues have said, depression is something that has stood out about depression is people need to understand depression in the state of mind. It is like you have a stomachache, that's something in the stomach. If you have a backache, that's your back. But depression is the sickness of the mind. That's what people need to understand first. And once you understand that depression is the sickness of the mind, that means anything that you put into your mind and anything your mind gives out, whether it's to yourself or to anyone around you, is that which is called depression. So in my field, like the psychologist said, the Android generation. This is the digital generation. Everything now is either on a cell phone or a computer or an iPad or the TV or radio or the digital sphere. So out there is, in the digital space, people are putting their lives out there, and their lives don't necessarily portray what is the reality of things. So you find, for example, Yvonne, being a musician, has this amazing voice. She sings and she records herself and puts her recordings, whether it's video or audio, on the digital space. And me, who has a desire to sing and I cannot, would want to be like Yvonne. But because I cannot, I fall into a depressive state because I cannot achieve that which is my dream. And not knowing that perhaps for Yvonne to get there, she had to do all this hard work of training and practicing and doing all these things to get to her state. But the digital space has made depression, for lack of a better word, blew up.
More of magnify
the problem. Because everybody's business is out there. So if you're not careful about how you filter your business or how you express your life or your business in the digital space, you can easily fall into depression.
Sally, would you blame somebody who is, you know, living their life, so to speak, and wants to live it large and show everyone how they are living, and blame them for what you're going through? Is it really their problem, or is it really your problem?
Well, that's a difficult question. Why? Because personally, I don't think there's a person who's right or wrong in a say, because so many other factors play into depression. It could be the environment you're in. Like Imani has given an example of people in Turkana and Lamu and difficult places. That environment has caused them to be in a depressive state because they lack something. But here's also a person who has everything and still falls into depression because they're lacking something. It could be a simple thing as affection. It could be a simple thing as affirmation or something. It's a lack of something. So if there's a person who in their real life they're expressing how happy they are, or they've got all things covered and everything is just good in their life.
Everything looks perfect.
Yeah, it's not really their fault for expressing that thing. That's perhaps the state of things in their life. But the person watching that person expressing their self, they need to see and check inside themselves. Does it make me more happy to have things or people, or am I content in the state that I am in?
Wow, wow, amazing. Now, Israel, you know, somebody would go and say that calling this feeling depression is just somebody who wants attention. Is it so?
It is definitely not so. Because by the time that you are in depression, even that attention doesn't even serve the purpose that you may think the person needs. Because by that time you're in a state of confusion. You're not sure of what you want or what you don't want. Because you see, for example, the question you asked, this person who sees someone else and then desires that. The problem is not the person who has shared the joy of their life. The problem is how you interpreted it. And then the extra mile of wanting that you don't have. So at the end of the day, it is just a perspective problem. And then the problem magnifies slowly from stress to greater stress, and then you are in depression. So once you're in a state of depression, it's not even you can't even say there is a person who desires attention. There is someone who desires help. There is someone who needs affection. There is someone who needs to be taken step by step so that he can overcome that which caused the depression.
I'm happy about what Imani had said, that nobody is immune to depression. But then I would also fall back and ask that is, you know, the number of deaths that have been attached to depression are suicidal. Nobody can qualify that I have died of depression. But then there has to be something that depression leads to, you know. So should we have all our hazard zone in regarding to depression because it has not killed anyone? Or should we just be okay because it's a problem, just get some over-the-counter drugs and that's it?
The problem is that it depends with how you look at it. Has not killed anyone because depression has killed so many people. Because you reach a point where dying is easier than living.
Yeah.
So you do not need someone to die, because people do die. And at the end of the day, it is always the simplest solution for that person. Because when someone is depressed, they're in a magnitude of people and they feel alone. They feel alone, and they feel like they need so much. So you don't need to wait for someone to reach that point for them to get help. As soon as someone displays some symptoms of depression, then it's always easier solved earlier. Yes.
Now, Imani, you have interacted with very many people in your career, but then how can you get to realize that this person is suffering from depression? It's not like it's a banner that somebody or a helmet that is written, "I am depressed."
Yes.
Can you really get to know this person?
For sure you can know when somebody is depressed. An example, you have somebody who is an extrovert. Then all of a sudden,
Today he or she's under the weather.
And he's like, oh, I need my space. Oh, it takes more than time, 1 week, 2 weeks. Oh, I'm in my space, my cocoon. You have to realize much enough that this person is depressed. Now, the problem with depression is that it mutes somebody. And it's only about the social support system that person has. If I have friends, they'll know, hey, Chums is going down the road. So they have to come on board and like, hey, Chumba, what's up? That is the responsibility of the support, social support system. Either family, friends, colleagues, church. Yeah, but then, okay, we'll talk about the church later.
Actually, in a second, but just build it.
Yeah, but then you realize all these people that you're expecting, okay, all these, you'll know somebody when he or she is depressed. Those extents that they have their behavioral changes. Some people can just like post something on FB and you realize,
there's something off about it.
Yes. You can easily know when somebody is really depressed, a magnitude that needs people to come in and help.
I'm glad of what you said last, that say, a bad feeling is a bad feeling, and depression is a depression. The magnitude is the difference.
Yeah.
So it's about us to realize that, hey, by the way, you know, today I can be feeling low. It's normal.
Yeah.
But then when it has progressed, and then I
For
start
too long.
portraying some characters which are not really who I am, then that is I can say an alarming or a hazard or a signboard to say, oi, I'm going through something, I need attention. And I looked at something about the church. I want to bring you musical minister, so to speak.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. So she said something about the church, and I'm looking at it in this way. I mean, the church is a place where people should go and, have the solutions to their troubles. I am depressed. I need Jesus. I need people. I need my friends to pray for me. Is the church offering that, or it's not?
Truth, not.
And in this
Because-
case, you're not talking about Christ. You're talking about the congregants.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not talking about Christ, you're talking about the congregants. You go and try air out your problem, it becomes the topic. You find a cocoon of people seated somewhere when you pass by and they say, ha, there she goes. She was doing this and this and this. And you know what? This and this and this and this. And unfortunately, I understand that the platform we have in church is a hospital where people are coming to give their problems and to get solutions and all that. And instead of people holding people's hands, they talk about them. And unfortunately, also apart from that, you find that when you're going through depression, people have not seen you for so long. You're an active member in the church, and they do not show up for you. They do not call to ask if you're okay. They do not ask your parents where you are. They do not ask your relatives, okay, where is Yvonne? I've not seen Yvonne for so long. What's happening? Is she okay? No one, no pastor, no deacon, no nothing. People do not take time to see. When you're in hospital, you're sick, yes. Deacons and deaconesses will come and see you. But when you're going through depression, and unfortunately it's killing so many people, no one will care.
Wow. So for the longest time, Sally, can you say that for the longest time, church has not been upfront in giving these kind of solutions? That's why we need to go to Israel.
No, they haven't been upfront. You see, first of all, someone who's depressed won't come and tell you, Samir,
Yo,
I'm
by the
depressed.
way.
help me. They won't come and say that. Which is why Imani had given the example of, to know someone who's depressed, you look at their behavioral changes.
Yeah.
That's the number one, what do you call it? Radar sign. It's a behavioral change. And you'll know behavioral changes by your circle. If you don't know your circle, then you would know they're depressed. If you're not friends, if you're not social, if you're not interactive, if you don't find out people's, not necessarily people's lifestyle, but just well-being of people, you will never know if they have a behavioral change. You will never see it coming, and the next thing you'll know, the person probably died. And then you end up asking yourself, but she's always happy, she's always smiling, she's always doing things. There's so many variations. I think Israel will talk more about it. There's so many variations to depression. It can be mild to totally deep, strong depression, to the sense that someone would think death is the easiest option. So the church, I don't know if it's because we're just busy or I don't know what it is, to be honest. I really don't know, because sometimes we are so focused on this walk to heaven. We must go to heaven, all of us.
By fire, by force.
By force.
Christians are not depressed.
Christians don't
Are
get
not
depressed.
They
We
never
have
get.
Jesus. Hallelujah. But we are so rooted in the word. We are so focused on, no, we need to get this word in our heart so we can go to heaven. We need to get all the 28 fundamental beliefs memorized so that we can be baptized, so that we can work in church, so that all these other things happen, so all of us can go to heaven. So this whole depression thing, you're just sad.
Get over it.
It's okay. You're just stressed. You'll get over it. Just be happy. Those are the comments that come from someone who, if you do happen to realize, okay, this person has a behavioral change that I've noticed, And you know, so I don't know if it's because we're too busy focusing on people going to heaven that we
We
don't
forget
really
the
notice
human.
our social
Yeah.
or our social problem. This is what I call a social problem. Because there's no way I can come to church and say, Yvonne, I'm depressed. And then Yvonne opens SOP.
The Bible says
Ellen
uh,
G. White.
Ellen G. White
and all that.
Yeah.
You see, you're depressed because you're not eating, right? You don't drink enough water.
I want to interject. I want to and bring you Israel. Do we have people who have such minds? Just to borrow from it, so that as you continue, do you have people who have this idea that depression comes in a particular, which is not?
Yes. There's a way that you expect depression to look like. Because most people who are depressed actually do not attach the title, I am depressed.
Yeah.
That is the one thing they don't. Because they deny and they're struggling with this and they're always looking for help. So there's a way that you think depression will look like. There's a way that you think there are people who are supposed to be depressed. But the fact of the matter is, as long as you're human and your body uses blood, you are susceptible to stress relative to your environment and the circumstances that are around you and what you're supposed to do and not to do, and your perceptions and your aspirations. So all these things, as long as you're human, you can be even the GC president in the church, and he, because he's human, is susceptible to stress, I mean to depression.
You know, I know of a couple of instances of people who have had, especially in the church, high-ranking people who have dropped dead because of associated stress, you know. And that in itself hit me that, oh, by the way, you know, just because you're a pastor, just because you're the CEO, just because people deem or look at you differently, does not qualify that you are immune to depression. Depression cuts across age. Man, I can go on and on and on how much we're supposed to be aware about this condition. As we move on to the break, there's something that, you know, right now people are looking at, I'm hoping that there's a wide view of this. The way you look right now, you look like women of valor. You're strong, you know, but you all look amazing. I have to say that. You look amazing, you know. But then, is this something that you have seen out there, or is it a personal experience? Just a statement, Yvonne.
It's personal. I can't say a statement. You cannot express a statement on depression. You can't.
It's personal.
It's personal.
Let's just tell it so that
It's personal.
we're going to you know,
Yeah.
get to know more about that. Sally, is it personal or is it a study that you have gone through, like you have, you know, done study on content, all that?
Both. It's a personal experience, and because of the field that I am in, it's also something that I've experienced out there as well. Yeah.
Before I come to you, in a second, is it, because right now you're talking about depression amidst ladies. Somebody will say that, you know, women are the ones who have very many feelings. So the perception that they are then ones who are susceptible to feel like this is just for them. Is it the case?
No, it's not. It's not an only thing, but anyway, research says that women, for every 2 depressed women, there's 1 depressed man. I found that to be strange. But when I thought about it deeply, I realized that women are supposed to take care of these men, and then take care of their jobs, and then take care of the
Say loud
kids,
for the people
and
in the
then
back.
take care of the church and come and worship. So I guess the expectations are so much on them. So sadly.
You know, as we go to the break, one thing that, as they have said, and I want to believe Emmanuel will be coming through after the break, is that this is not a hearsay story. This is a personal experience. They have gone through depression. I have gone through depression. It's not about I am superior. I am there. After the break, we'll be getting to hear some of these stories and get to relate to them and see how we can be able to conquer this vice, depression. Be blessed. Thank you guys for tuning into Hope Channel. You're still watching The Identity, and it's an encouragement for you guys to share with us your views about this discussion. Remember, we're still talking about depression amidst ladies. Our social media accounts are Facebook, The Identity, and on Instagram at The Identity 254. Now, during the break, Imani, you had shared something about the church. Please, bring it to light.
I think I have so much to say about the church because I've had an experience with the church to an extent that I had to leave the church for some period of time in my life. And the issue was, you know, you're in campus, you get messed up in campus, but thank God you are born in an Adventist family. That's why you come up with this thing. The Bible says that teach your kids in the right way, and when they grow up, they'll never forget. So I thank God for it. But however, my experience was really a bad one, and getting messed up in the world and getting to come back to church, just like to get like that peace of mind and peace, just basically the peace. And again, having to like you had stressed your parents, the parents had looked up to you, they know I'm the first girl in our family. So I got back to church, and the first thing that really hurt me big deal was the women talking whatever, the Dorcas women who are supposed to be holding the girls together in church. Whether I come dressing in whatever I'm dressing, thank God I'm coming to church. Lead me on the right path. Tell me, my daughter, this and this and this and this. Not attacking me or throwing words or making me look like some Jezebel or making just me look like a bad person. So that was my experience. And for me, what I think about the church is like there's no love in our church. If there is any place that people are depressed, is in our church. Number one, in our church, you cannot talk about you're depressed. How? You'll be given theological solutions. Read this verse, worry less, you know. But this reality, these are things you're going through. How do you come to a point that you're able to like open up? Well, the first thing that you get in church is like that attack, and you're like, you're not godly enough. Do you give out your tithes? Hapo kuna shida inakaa. Watoto wako wako wapi? Shida iko. So you find there are many excuses given unto us about depression, that we cannot talk about depression in church completely. And it's just really sad. But what I pray and hope is like the love that we preach. When you're talking about, we focus so much on, I don't know, this journey to, I don't think there's any focus. Because from the onset of what the Bible brings is number one, love. If it was anything you could preach about, the most powerful sermon, it's about love. And love comes with everything. Gentleness, caring, you know, humility and all those type of things.
Amazing.
So we need to go back and see where we went wrong as a church. And now look at love. Secondly, give opportunities to people who are depressed. Most of the time you're given opportunities, wanajua anakuanga short wire. Apeo hiyo kazi ya kufagia kanisani. I mean, why? That is already like dehumanizing somebody who is already depressed. Yeah?
Was this something that was personal to you? That?
Yeah, it is. It is something really, because now you're out of the world now, you're coming back to church, but you can't be given a position because of what?
People deem you as an outcast, a misfit.
Yes. And it's really sad state of affairs. That's why the youths are running out of church to go to the world, because that's where they're accepted.
I think
we're not accepted in church. With all our baggage, with all our challenges, with all and everything that we go through. And we are going through a lot of things. A lot in this generation and the technology and where the world is leading us to. We are struggling much more than our parents.
Yeah, I think that's a call to, the church administration. It's not like you have not tried. We would not like to depict, to rather present you in a sense that you have not tried, but then we can do better. We can do better, and not just the church administration. Let us not look at it as a church administration. Let us look at it as the person who sits next to you in the church. Sally, you said this is personal to you. What is that one experience that drew you down, that drove you down the depression lane?
Where to start? In the like I said before, depression varies in different forms. Mine was triggered out of emotional abuse.
Was this from parents or a relationship?
From a relationship. My folks are like the coolest people I know. Hi, Mom. My folks are the coolest people, and they gave me pretty much everything they could. And I didn't lack anything, and I'm grateful for that. But my 16-year-old mind was like, my parents, they're not giving me freedom. I need to do this and this and this. My parents are old school. It's those ones of fear God, then your mother. Because if I did anything wrong, I would get a whooping, and I would be put on the straight line. But I thank my parents for that. So once I got into campus gives you this freedom. This freedom that you've never seen in your, your being. So with that freedom, you are trusted with the responsibility of taking care of yourself, because your parents are not there to pick you up when you go wrong, to fix things. So that was the very first time that I was by myself in terms of being responsible and taking care of myself and being responsible and knowing, okay, I'm supposed to do this at this time, at this way, and in this light. Yes, until I met him. And then he lied to me. But I fell into the illusion of what a relationship is, because in my young mind, I thought a relationship meant he was supposed to sweep you off your feet and you run into the sunset.
I know.
And people are watching you. And that was my illusion of what a relationship was. So when this guy is not doing what was in my head, is. At first I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's my naive self I don't know this is how it's supposed to be, because he portrayed he was experienced. And
Sally, just to allude, so in your 16, so to speak,
16.
In your sweet 16, when did you realize that things are going down?
When unfortunately I was going through some things in terms of figuring out my hormones as a lady, because boys
you had a hormone explosion. On a light note,
in terms of you're growing up. So when a boy tells you they like you, a simple thing like, I like you, you look beautiful, those are affirmations that were a bit foreign in my household. You get. And yes, I was told these things, but you once you're told something over a period of time, you get comfortable with it. But when someone else, especially someone else who you like, tells you, hey, nice, there's a way you'll walk a little higher. There's a way you'll sit a little, And for the beginning of the relationship, he was doing all these things until I gave into his sexual advances. And once that happened, then all those affirmations stopped. And I was thinking to myself, when I didn't do it right, did I do something wrong? Was I not good enough? Did I do something that he did not want? What was it? And he was silent. He was not telling me these things until it got to a point that even those our interactions with each other in public became embarrassing towards me. He would embarrass me in public. He'd say so all sorts of things. even that dress doesn't look nice on you, or how are
He
you
was-
walking?
He was more of abusing you in public.
Yes. And at first, I didn't realize what that was. I just thought maybe something I have done wrong until other people started talking about it. You know, at first, you know, it was just him. You can deal with him. It's one-sided. But when other people start talking about it, you like sort of lose control about it. You can't really say what you're thinking. When you walk past them, you can't know what they're whispering to each other. And that fear of not knowing, or fear of thinking that what it is that they're saying is in a negative light, put me in a dark space. Put me in such a dark space that, like Israel had mentioned, I felt that I am not worthy. I am not this being that is supposed to exist within people, that death even looked so pleasing, so amusing to me at that time, that was the simplest and most easy solution that I could ever decide on going.
Okay, so to you, that affirmation that came with relationship was the pill, and once it was taken off, that was the beginning of your downfall. And I think that also echoes to sometimes what women go through in relationships, that affirmation, and when things go south, or probably physical abuse, you know, that also brings in the whole feeling. Yvonne?
I relate a lot to what she's saying. I was brought up in a family. I love my parents. I was brought up in a family where you're given morals, you're taught principles, and you're told no sex before marriage, and that's what I was striving towards throughout and all that. Until as a musician, you want to go to the studio, you want to be produced, you want to be famous and all that. And when the producer gives you advances and you refuse, and he ends up raping you, and you get all messed up and you don't know where to start. And you go down a drain where you stop feeling beautiful. You stop appreciating men for who they are. You have trust issues. You cannot speak to anyone. Anyone you try explaining to them, they're like, what were you wearing that day? What were you doing in that place? This is a studio, for heaven's sake. You are supposed to be recording your music. And everything becomes so messed up that you don't know where to stand. And when I say the church wasn't there, it's because this happened. And no one, I'm a very bubbly person. I'm always all over the place. That's just who I am. But when I went down the drain, there was no one. There was no one. I couldn't tell my parents for one particular reason, because I didn't want the court cases that come with it, every pain that comes with it, the stereotype, all kinds of things, because it's a musical industry and she chose the career herself. She can sort herself out. No, I didn't want all that, so I told no one. But people didn't realize that I went down. I lost myself completely. God.
Israel, the many experiences that women go through that could be oblivious to men, and probably men are propagating this. Probably what would be your counsel to the lady who's going through a particular, let's speak to men so that the ladies will speak from the experience. What would be that advice you'd give to a man who's probably propagating this one thing or another that is going to probably take a lady down the drain?
I'm feeling hard for being in this place and in being in the place of Ben. But I have this life principle that I believe is important for every single man. Because growing in my house, I celebrated the women in my house. I celebrated my mom, my sisters. And I always think, before I do that thing to that lady, would I feel pleasure? Would I feel happy and proud if that same thing happened to my mom or my sister? So as a man, before you do anything to a lady, just imagine that that is someone's daughter, that is someone's mother, someone's aunt. And in this case, you're not that someone, but at least care for that person. Care for that person. Eve was brought to Adam to be his helper, not his
Subject.
his subject, or the mat to trample over. So just care for that lady.
That's from one's perspective, that it's up to us to be the strength, not a point of, not to be looked at. You are the reason why I have been like this. We're supposed to be a blessing. Supposed to be that, man, I can go on and on. Imani, drawing from experience as we come to a close, what would be your word to the lady who thinks that, one, she's immune, or two, went through the same ridicule that went through in the church? Sally, what would be
I
experience?
think communication is key. Communication is in the sense we are all broken in one aspect or another, male and female. We are all broken. Our environments broke us, our experiences broke us, our upbringing broke us. We are probably suffering from the sins of our fathers. Communication is key in the sense that if you find yourself or someone, or you are the dominant person in that particular situation, like Israel has said, if you're the man in a relationship, and you need to think to yourself, am I going to treat this lady the same way I treat my mother, the same way I treat my sister, the same way I treat my daughter? It's difficult for a man to do that because perhaps he's never had that woman figure in his life to treat with respect.
Or probably a father to guide on how
how to treat this woman with respect. So it's not all entirely the man's fault in that particular scenario. But then again, if men are struggling with something, they need to look up to their fellow men and say, hey, bruh, I'm struggling, help me. I am going through this thing, help me. Women need to build each other up in the sense, Imani can't come to church because she's been out in the world doing all sorts of things, but she's back and she's seeking help. And she probably doesn't know how to seek help, and probably she's asked to seek help, but has been turned away. There's a story that I read.
briefly.
A man went to church, his normal routine, he was at church. It came time for prayer, and the preacher was praying, and suddenly his phone rang. He had forgotten to put it on silent mode or flight mode. His phone rang. So he quickly, you know the way your phone can ring in a very quiet place, so he quickly turned it off. And after prayer, everyone, including the pastor, was rebuking him. How do you come to church with your cell phone on? Don't you remember how to turn it off? What type of person are you? What is wrong with you? And he fell into a dark space. So he felt that the best way to relieve myself from this dark space is to go to the bar. So he went to the bar and started drinking his sorrow away. And in the bar, when he's drinking, one of the bottles accidentally fell to the ground and it broke. So that experience triggered the experience in the church where the cell phone rang and he was trying to switch it off. But here the bottle broke and he was now a bit freaked out. What do I need to do? But the waitress came and said, no, it's okay. Don't worry, I'll get you another bottle. The bartender said, don't worry, things like that happen. Can I take care of it? Let me wipe the table. And the table was wiped and he was given another bottle and he was treated with love and affection. Where do you think he stayed? Did he stay in the church or did he stay in the bar?
That's a question for you, Imani. Nice statement.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Depression is not a failure. It's not. It's okay to be unstable. it's okay to feel like you want help. It's okay to have that time of yours, as long as it doesn't go overboard. But then the biggest responsibility is people you are around. That every one of us has to have that love. Love for each other. Love makes you want to know if that person went to bed hungry. Did she go, did she have transport to get out of work to go home? Or those are just like small things that you can always do. It's about time that every one of us took up the responsibility and love one another. Because that's the only way we are going to make somebody comfortable enough to come out and talk.
Wow.
Because it's not easy to talk. You cannot just like she was saying, you cannot come, I cannot come and tell her, hey, you know, I'm depressed. It's not.
You can't.
But from you looking at the behavior of your friend, or your family member, or your colleague, or your church member, you may be able to realize, oh, there's a problem. I need to get closer. Just like say hi. Just like smile. When you go to church, you're saying happy Sabbath. Somebody
But how
just say
happy
happy
is the Sabbath?
Sabbath. But in reality, they're broken people.
The question would be, how happy is the
Yeah.
Sabbath?
Yeah.
Let us be human.
Yes.
Let us reach, just like Christ, just like God met to got to us in our points of need. Let's do the same. Let us not sit in that high seat of, hey, you need to come up. Let's get down from that seat.
I think one thing to add on is like, let's not like stamp or just hide this thing called depression. It's taking away a lot of lives, even in church. It's so sad to hear somebody has committed suicide and is a church member. And it has happened a lot of times. Even when this person has been brought up in the book and knowing that committing suicide may render you so let's talk about it. I thank God first because it's a conversation we are having, and it should be on and on, encouraged, so that people can come out and talk about this thing.
Sorry.
In a statement, as
To add, there's something she said. Approach people and find out how they're doing. But as you approach people, also you need to somehow give that person that you're approaching the trust that whatever it is that they confide in you about, they can trust you enough to open up. Because you'll find that there's the Bible calls them a brood of vipers. What are they called? Those Pharisees. You'll find there's someone who actually is approaching you, perhaps not to help you, perhaps
somebody has a
to
hidden agenda.
because they find gratification from your downfall. So if the person who, okay, it's very difficult to find these people because they're wolves in sheep's clothing. They look very nice on the outside. So my take is just, if you find someone or if you see someone who may be going through a depressive state and you don't know what that depressive state is, approach with caution, in the sense that when you do approach them, assure that person that whatever it is you say, it's in confidence, and I'm actually here to help and not to bring you down.
Thank you.
Everyone in a statement.
Everyone and anyone can get out of depression. Suicide is not a
It's not the
is not the
option.
solution. It's not the option. And seek help. And apart from that, as Christians now, we're talking about Christians as well. Be a friendly person. What happened to me was someone was friendly enough to find out who I am, because I was in a strange place, in a different place, and this person taught me how to smell roses, because depression is basically concentrating on the thorns rather than the roses. So someone taught me how to smell the roses again, and I was able to get out of it. But it is not everyone who can get that. So even as we are seated here, get time talk to someone, figure out, just learn someone new, meet people, talk to them, figure out. That's how we can be able to help others in the society and the environment that we are in, and also in the church, because also the church people are suffering. Yeah, and also seek help from the professionals. We have the professionals as well. Yeah.
You know, there is much that we could speak about in this episode. One thing, we've probably muted Israel for like the whole of part 2, but gladly he's going to be with us and shed more light. The next episode, that is depression amidst men. I mean, there's a lot that we can do. In life is, let me just again allude to the story, because of the interest of time, she wasn't able to do it. Life is like a pathway where you have roses and all this. Depression is when you focus more on the thorns. And there's a lot of beautiful roses to be seen. Let us focus on the roses and let us be human. Let's be human. Let's not fake it. Let's faith it. And let us be sources of support to our friends. Depression is real. It kills. Don't turn a blind eye to it. Instead, let's talk about this.